the Yeti Goal Zero Yeti 400. Actually, I think this is the item right here. Hey guys, here's just a quick unboxing of the Goal Zero Yeti 400. This is the 400 watt hour battery pack from Goal Zero. Pretty hefty box, not too bad. Typical documentation. Clever. Cables. This is a legacy charger adapter, 4.78 millimeter. And that's just the charger there. And here's the actual battery itself. Empty box. So it's not too heavy. It's got like a handle, looks like. Comes up. So here on the front of the Goal Zero Yeti 400 you have the input. That's where you would plug in the AC adapter to charge from the wall or the solar panel. Here you have the two outputs for the Goal Zero branded lights, and then you have a 12 volt cigarette lighter. Each time you turn this on, it activates it. And then here you have the two USB. So it looks like it's pulling 2 watts at standby. And then for the AC adapters, the two plugins here for the inverter, looks like it's draw 7 watts. 7 watts in just standby mode. I guess that's normal for that. So just standby, I use 1 or 2 watts, 0 inputs. So it looks like this sucker needs to be charged. That's pretty cool. It's got some good features. I plan on testing it out and see how it goes. I'll give you the full specs in a second here. Hey guys, back here with the Goal Zero Yeti 400. As you can see, I have a couple of items plugged into it. Couple of USB and using both AC adapters. And as you'll see in a second, I've got a couple of things plugged into it. You can see the wattage drawing from it. So we zoom out here. So we have a power strip plugged in right here. And in the power strip we have 3 battery chargers. We got 2 LaCrosse and 1 Nitecore battery charger going. In the USB I have the iPhone 6 and the Garmin GPS there plugged in. All going into there. So I'm going to tell you a little about the Yeti 400 here. Lock the camera down. It's a fairly good battery pack. It'll charge most consumer electronics. So basically, if you can fit it in your pocket, you could probably charge it. It's not going to charge big items like refrigerators or major power tools, fans, AC, air conditioners, or even microwave ovens for all that matter. But for other things, it does a fairly decent job. So here I got some specs on the guy here. Alright, what we got? So we have the Yeti 400. Goal Zero also makes a Yeti 1250, which is much larger. But the 400 is kind of like their mid-range Yeti. And then they have a 150, which is one step below this. And then they have the lithium Sherpa 50 and Sherpa 100s. So the Yeti 400 uses an AGM sealed lead acid battery. It's rated at 396 watts. It's really 300 watts continuous and 600 watts surge. Maximum at 110 volts at 2.6 amps. The charge 3 to 6 months or keep it plugged in, they recommend, and don't let it drop below 40%. Just like your car battery, you want to keep it up and running. It uses electronic fuses that don't need to be replaced, which is kind of nice. So for the ports here, let me zoom in and show you. Get a good shot here. Alright, so the ports, we have the 2 USB ports that are being used. And those are up to 5 volt output and to 2.1 amps, 10 watt maximum. And that's regulated. You have a 6mm port, that's the little green hexagons here. Right there. And those are for like the Goal Zero branded lights and what have you. And they are 12 volts up to 10 amps at 120 watt max. Then we have the standard 12 volt car charger. Doesn't actually charge a car, but you know. 12 volt cigarette adapter. And that is 12 volts up to 10 amps at 120 watt max. And then next we have the 2 AC adapters there. Those are the built-in pure sine wave inverters. And the US version is 60 hertz pure sine wave and uses 0.4 amps when there's no load on there, so this still uses a little bit of energy. And that's 110 volts at 2.6 amps. The other side, it uses what they call the Anderson power pole connections. You don't see them here, they're on the side. They're actually on the side of the battery themselves. There's a couple on each side, one on this side and one on this side here. And that way you can chain a bunch of them together. You can chain up to 4 Yeti 400s. It increases the overall capacity, but it does not increase the power output, so it doesn't increase the amperage. It just gives you that much more longer battery life, per se. The Yeti 400 is 29 pounds, 13.2 kilograms. And the dimensions are 10.25 by 8 by 8 inches. The operating usage temperature is between 32 and 104 degrees Fahrenheit, or 0 to 40 Celsius for you metric folks. And they recommend the optimum storage temp to be 77 degrees Fahrenheit. And it comes with a 6-month warranty. To give you an idea of the charge time, so from the wall, you can charge it, and it comes in at 72 watts, about 5 hours. You can use a car charger, optional car charger, at 30 watts. In 13 hours, it'll charge the battery. And then you can use the Nomad 20 solar panel, which will charge it between 40 and 80 hours, depending on the sun and angle and time of day. You could also use the Boulder 30, which will charge it between 26 to 52 hours, and the Boulder 90, which will do it from 9 to 18 hours. I have the 90 and the and the 13 and 7, and the Nomad 27, but I'm anxious to see what the 90 watt panel actually does in real world. Right now it's like -4 degrees out in the northern hemisphere in the middle of February, and I don't want to go out there and try it yet. So, and then from the solar panel, the maximum input is 120 watts. So if you plug it right into that, to the blue 8mm adapter, same one that you plug into the wall. I'm not sure why that's 120 watts, whereas the charge coming from the wall is rated at 72 watts. Might have something to do with the the onboard regulator or the charge controller. So if it uses more, it'll step it down, is my understanding. So the Yeti uses what they call a PWM, pulse width modulation charge controller. The batteries are insulated and ungrounded, so it's not necessary to ground them, I guess, according to Goal Zero, and can be set directly on the ground, the battery, on the ground, the floor. The charge input decreases when above 80%. Normal due to charge controller. Yeah, so if your battery's down at like 20 or 40%, you'll get a lot more charge in there, but as it starts topping off to like 80%, it slows down, I guess. It's what they call the stadium effect. So in the beginning, where everyone's rushing in, there's a lot more seats for people to sit at, so more people can get in, but as the stadium fills up, it starts to trickle down because people are looking for seats. It's an interesting analogy. Let's see here. So yeah, this unit is allowed on checked baggage in an airplane. You just got to bring the manual to show them what kind of battery it is. So in terms of the heat output, the power supply is the only thing that really gets warm or hot. Not the battery itself due to the fans and vents on the battery case, according to Goal Zero. The internal battery is replaceable, and you can use any 12-volt AGM battery, not exceeding 100 amps. The Goal Zero company actually sells a replacement battery for about $80 as well. And all you do to replace that is, I haven't tried it yet, obviously, but just take the 4 bolts at the top, take the cover off, and undo the harness, I'm sure, or the connectors. Let's see here. So yeah, and the battery, I guess, can be placed on its side, as long as it's not blocking any vents. Let's see what else we can talk about. Yeah, so power's, most personal electronics that you can pretty much carry in your pocket. Like I said, it won't power full-size fridges or compressors or large power tools, microwaves, AC units. It draws too many amps. And they have an interesting formula. So if you want to determine the runtime of your device, divide, in this case, the Yeti 400. So you're going to divide 400 by the number of watts of your device. So if you have a device that's 100 watts, using the Yeti 400, you can power for 4 hours. As long as you're within the amperage, of course. I guess the quick way to figure that out is the volts times amps equals watts. It's kind of interesting. Other than that, it's a pretty decent unit. It's not light by any, stretch of the imagination, but it's not heavy either. It's not like the Yeti 1250, which is like 100 pounds. This is about 29 pounds, 30 pounds really. Let's see what the battery's at. Yeah, so you can see. And you can also use you can still charge at the same time. You could charge the battery pack while you're using the accessory ports. It's kind of nice. I think it's called pass-through charging. You can also plug in your solar panel as well. So if you're out somewhere on a remote location, you could have it plugged in at all times to the solar panel and start drawing from it. So yeah, it's a pretty decent device. I look forward to testing it out more. I wish it was a lithium-ion battery. You would get a lot more capacity and probably less weight. It'd probably be 5 to 10 times more too. So there is a trade-off there. So I had the dreaded AC error, so I had to take the battery out, take apart the Yeti 400. So basically these are the hex bolts you take out, pull that out. Here's the battery itself. Let's see if you can see. So that just comes right out. And you just got to undo these wire harnesses here, screwed down by the same bolt. Can't think of I'm having a brain fart right now, but it's basically the hex tool. It'll come to me. Something wrench, torsion wrench, not a box wrench, it'll come to me. But anyway, this is the inside of the Goal Zero Yeti 400. So that's where you can just drop in the battery. So when you have the dreaded AC error, they recommend that you disconnect the battery, connect it back up, and plug it in and start it up again. Hopefully that the inverter will reset itself. I didn't really have much of a load on it, which is really surprising, so I don't know why I did that. Hopefully I didn't get a defective battery. If so, I will be contacting Goal Zero fairly soon. But yeah, there's just the battery right there. That's just the heart of the Goal Zero Yeti 400. I haven't seen a video showing the actual battery, so I figured I'd show you guys. Nothing special. Looks like any battery you can get at a hardware store. Yep, so that just pops into there. I don't know what this little wire is. Is that a grounding wire? It's sitting on the bottom. Maybe a chaining wire? Not sure about that. Alright guys, I'll try to put it back together and hopefully the inverter resets itself. After opening up the battery and resetting or reseating the connections, and it appears to be operating again. It's a power draw using 2 USB ports for my cell phones and 1 AC adapter used for my laptop.